Hi YouTube, how are you doing? Check this out. Cool, huh? Or did you see it? Did I say lions, not sheep? Yep, needed one of those. Just in case anybody was wondering about me, like I leave any doubt. I want everybody to be clear. My fight is not about anybody's heritage, but to try and stop all wars for all times for the future of everybody. So, what I'm going to say next, I'm going to stand on with conviction, and everybody in the United States, if you can gather for us what I'm putting down, may the grace of God be with everybody. But until we give the land back to the Native Americans in our country, their country, we have no business whatsoever fighting over anybody else's country and land for them. There has been broken treaties, the Trail of Tears, all the natives, Indian Removal Act, and all the rest. They're garbage that they broke their treaties. First broken treaty, null and void with the whole thing. Period. Land back. Period. I hope you get what I'm saying, how this could actually stop further narcissism from the big banksters doing what they're doing, uh, like the Rand Corporation, and if you listen to them, how a company that makes armaments will sit there and talk about, like today, how their dividends are going to come in the future, from what's happening today and what they sell and what their prospective sales will be in the future, those types of things. If you sat down and listened to the CEOs of companies that were making money off this whole situation, you would stop and realize that this has nothing to do with who is holy or chosen or anything else. I hope you can get that. I really hope you get that Israel and Jerusalem were not and are not physical places that were mentioned in the scripture. They're a people, like the people of Moses. It was an area. It'd be like if I had named one of my kids after Minneapolis, Minnesota, or St. Paul, or you see what I'm saying? That's what this was. There was no state of Israel before 1948. And you know what? I don't care who says what. If you can understand how this can put a cog in their machines, if everybody can get behind me or alongside of me on this, um, to bring some sense into the people that don't really understand what they're doing to the future of the children on this planet. Anytime you approve of something that's going to, yes, there's civilians that are being destroyed with all this, but we cannot be a party to what they're doing to the whole world. I hope you can get that, please. This is not out of any lack of empathy on my part or anything. These are hard decisions that I've had to make within myself for everybody's benefit, not just one select country that is those that say they are, but do lie. That's the times we are in. So, anyway. there's a Michael Johnson that is now our Speaker of the House in Congress, and he's supposedly a Christian, standing next to the Star of David and asking for funds to go towards that area. David never had a star. It was the Star of Bethlehem that was for Jesus. That's Jesus's star, not David's star. David never had a star. There's nowhere in the scriptures that it ever was mentioned. This is a fictitious, made-up thing by the people posing as somebody that they are not. Just please get that. This has nothing to do with heritage on anybody's part. And the genocide that's going on over there can't be proven. I mean, we can't prove it, but we see there's a journalist over there, and there's a army officer that was on the front line, just like in Ukraine. They were saying that this was happening from their very own government was doing that to them. Now, that was said about Armeni Assad, I think is his name, the president of Syria, was said to have gassed his own people, and it was found out that he was not the culprit. So, and that goes in really, really deep. And America's got its dirty fingers. I am so ashamed that my country would even involve itself in any of it, like the cover-ups of all the artifacts and different things that they found in Afghanistan, and all of it. Like I said, I thought we would have learned our lesson with Vietnam. That was beyond hideous. If you don't know much about it, study that. And that might just change your mind about what they're proposing to do and what they want you to pay for. You know, it's always going to be somewhere, because this is how they make extra money through their corporations and their affiliates. That's how they do that. That's way beyond insider trade. This was orchestrated hundreds of years ago, if not thousands. That they don't think in 20-year increments. For their children, they think hundreds of years ahead. And that's what we have to do. We have to think hundreds of years ahead for our children on this planet right now. We can't think 10 years, 20 years. You have to secure a place for your greats, not just your grandchildren. You have to think of everybody in the future and just not ourselves, even if you're childless. When I started my fight, I didn't even think I was going to have kids. But I love people enough to, like, wow, something's wrong here. What am I? How am I? What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? How do I go about this? Who can I enlist in my plight to rid the world of the scourge? You know? What do I do? And my whole life has been, what can I do? What can I say next to help? How can I help? Doing the same old thing is not going to help. It hasn't. It won't. And we're all responsible for that, every single one of us. Here's a little, for instance. If you're an adult and you're really cruel to a little kid, and that little kid goes and does something heinous to another human being, who's initially responsible if that if that heinous crime was committed with the thoughts of what had happened to that child? Well, it stems back to the person that perpetuated that evil to begin with. But now, if that child says, wow, that was truly unjust, and I could not see myself doing this to another human being, what was done to me, right there, it was stopped with that one person. That's how it's one person. We can't, no, we can't do it alone. But we have to team up against this evil, and it is a evil. It's not just what is going on in one area, it's what always has gone on and what they want to continue. They want it to be far worse. I have pleaded with people, just look into Mein Kampf with what happened in Germany and Marxism and the socialistic communities' viewpoints on the progression into communism and how they destroy countries. If you just look into the increments, you'll see exactly what's happening to our country and other countries around the world being implemented by a war machine. That's what they are. That's who they are. And yeah, they all know it. It's not even secretive. You know, that's a sad thing about it. They're um what would they're not drafting, but they're, oh, I'll think of it just a minute. They're enlisting people's minds to believe that something is something it isn't. Don't you truly believe in your heart the God who made you, wonderful you, wouldn't want any of us doing anything to anybody else at all for any reason? Would your natural instinct be, if you saw even like your child getting hurt, yeah, you're going to stop it if you can, but are you going to kill somebody to do it? You know, that's what you got to ask. I've been faced with that. It's like, well, do I just hurt this person to stop it, or do I take it out? Well, this is logical with God in your heart, what you would do. These people do not have those instincts in them, and they're hoping you don't either. I'm asking you to reach in there and get those instincts and help me stop this thing. And the way is called land back. You give the Native Americans their land back before you go fight for another country's position that they claim to have on this planet. Because what is sacred to the Native Americans has been sacred for just as many thousands of years as what the Jewish community claims with their Holy Land. That's true. There's no debate. They are not the only people on the planet. And I do care about them. Like I've told you before, believe it or not, I have blood, the Jewish heritage. My family members that I love more than I can't even put words on it. That's how deep my feelings are on this, but there's only one way to stop what's going on, and that's not to participate. When you hear something on the news, you're going to have to overlook it. You either believe that God has got these people's souls covered and you need to stay out of it, or you're going to join in with the destruction towards other souls by participating in any way, especially being quiet about it. So what would you suggest if you could stop what's going on over there right now today? How would you go about that? Or do you have any ideas? And how can you help me help other people to make sense of all this for them? You know, I'm not saying that the people that are doing it don't need to be incarcerated. Oh yeah, they need to be in cages. There's not a doubt in my mind. Even the people that produce the weapons, they all need to be caged till they learn their lesson. Oh, you think it's funny to make money off of this? Well, hopefully God will show you how funny it just is not. That's my prayer. Oh, yeah. I was listening to a Robin's Hood this morning. He was on his way to work and talking about, the amount of time people spend traveling to get to work, then going to work, and how pathetic it actually all is. Unless you love what you're doing, and you might even enjoy your job, but it just like if you're forced to do something just to live on this planet, it just doesn't seem natural. It never has. I mean, I'm not against working. And then he was talking about, like getting his diet under control or keeping it there, and trying to exercise, or even thoughts of going to the gym when you're working. That's hard. That's really hard. Really, with diet, if you have a conscience that for your own body, your own temple, that usually keeps you from getting obese. You might get a little chubby, especially going into winter. Your body's going to try and grab all the fat cells it can just out of self-preservation. So if you can try and limit your sugar and carbs going into winter with the fat in there, try. Like maybe replace chips with a couple bites of beef jerky or something. Protein always will build your muscles before. And carbs are energy, but like jerky or peanuts or something has the energy and the protein and the carbs and different vitamins. But anyway, getting back to the point of worrying about going to the gym when you can barely even open your eyes in the morning before you go, you know, if you could do like, if you're too busy to exercise, just remember, if you're walking, like if you're walking to get a skill saw, or you're bending over to pick up your screw gun, or whatever you're doing, every movement you're making, if you can think like you're walking, you're on the treadmill. If you're going up and down the stairs, you're on an elliptical, these type of things. Just keep in your mind that your active body is burning that fat, what you put in, that energy. So don't feel too guilty. I mean, I would suggest keeping limber with stretches and doing some weight bearing exercises, every so often if you keep your body strong, you know. I don't know if I can show you here, but I'm going to show you a little something, something. You don't even have to go on the ground. Maybe I might have enough room to do this right here. I think I do. Okay. You put your hand, just go up to like even a chair. Put your hands down and you can stretch out like a push-up. Do 30 of them. You can go up to a wall. You can do 30 of them. When you're down there, raise your leg, you know. I don't know if you can see that, but, do leg raises and you can come in and out like that. I got to stretch the other one now. Mhm. See what I mean? Like if you do 30 of them on each leg and 30 push-ups, even up against the wall, like this here, you know? And yeah, I have a waist under here. I'm just, I love my big shirts. But, excuse me. So you really don't need a gym, is what I'm trying to say. Make sure you're limber. Every so often, throw out like 30 push-ups. Like I said, you don't even have to get on the ground. You can go up to a counter, a chair. Pick your elevation, what feels good. If you're real tired, just throw out 10 of them. Do it before you go to bed. If you have protein, that protein will work into your muscles quicker if you do it before you go to bed. I like to do them about mid-morning for me, but when I was working, I would do them like either in the morning or at night, usually in the morning before I went to work. I would do, excuse me, excessive amounts of sit-ups and all kinds of things. I've already done mine this morning, but I just thought I'd give you an example of how easy it is to work out. Just like you could sit in front of you and you could twirl your leg around, you know. Now I got to do the other one. But what I'm saying, or leg raisers with your knees, do a couple of them. You're just sitting there anyway. Or do this. Little to the side, little to the side, twist, twist, you know. If you even this, pulling, you know. Now you can see all my old skin and everything. But I mean, yeah. So you have a conscience. So you're thinking, I don't have time to go to the gym. Well, don't worry about it if you're actually that tired. Most likely you're getting your exercise. Just make sure that you can touch your toes. If you're 50 and you cannot touch your toes, I can almost put my elbows on the ground. I literally can put my head through my legs and grab the back of my legs with my arms still at my age. But that I've been doing this all my life. I just did not start, and that goes with gymnastics, ballet, all kinds of dance, every kind of conceivable sport, yoga, martial arts. I mean, so like I've been active all my life. And then I did get sick. I had a lot of attacks, a lot of really bad things happen to me, and intentional things that I can't prove that almost killed me. I shouldn't laugh, but wow, how God can work through you and heal you. But like I say, if you have a conscience, that's usually typically um going to see you through, because it's like having the conscience of Christ within you. When you know you're not supposed to do something, that feeling's in you. These people that are doing these things, these heinous things around the world, and even the retaliation for that, God's talking to them just like He talks to us, but they're trying to tell you for that. that that isn't so, that they have some kind of superiority that is going to give them a free pass in some area of ill repute that you or I don't have because of the accosting, hollow accosting type of things that they've been through. So it's the poor me syndrome that the Native Americans in our country don't have. They really don't have it. They're sad. You'll rarely see, if you can get a full-blooded Native American to laugh, if you can do that, you're a flippin' superhero, I'm telling you. You ever see a photograph of those people smiling? Not very often. And their eyes are so sad. Yeah, that says it all, doesn't it? I think it does. And nobody looks pretty when they're not smiling. If they're sad, you know, nobody. It's like if you're having an argument with your husband or your wife and you start crying, well, you're not looking so beautiful right then. Well, this person loves you so they know what you look like, but the whole world doesn't even know the beauty within the Native Americans because they haven't been allowed to smile. They don't have anything to smile about. I'm telling you, this is the way we can stop this nonsense. But first you would have to trust that the indigenous of our country would never harm you. Yeah, so it's a major thing. That's all I can think of with how to make a point to the whole world that we don't need to be helping you. You help yourself. We need to help ourselves. Nobody's going to come to our rescue and help if you have children out on the street or ones that have gotten into like fentanyl or drinking or all the bad things that are directed towards children. Nobody's going to help us with these things. We need to do that. Seems like they're taking our minds off of what's going on in our country to focus on somewhere else. It's always somewhere else that they expect you to drive your young child, down to the draft office or whatever and sign them up to enlist to go fight somewhere else. Then they tell you it's for your freedom. And I've told people, if you have known the amount of veterans that I've seen break down and just lose it, they cried, or they lost it in other ways that I brought things out in them that a lot of people really don't see. If you knew the veterans that had and carried that sorrow, you would give a. But most people don't. They don't look at it like that. They don't look at it like, geez, Uncle Bob signed up his life thinking that he was going to protect me. Then Uncle Bob found out that he had to participate in taking the lives of little people in another country or women or whatever and couldn't live with himself after that. Does anybody give a shit? Should try, I grew up with somebody that was there when they dropped the bomb in Hiroshima, and he had to be tested for radiation his whole life. In fact, would and did affect the whole family. Do you know how many thousands of people in the United States were affected by things that happened in other countries that you really aren't aware about? All kinds of things, diseases for different reasons, all kinds of stuff. When's it ever going to end, and who's going to help end it? It's not going to be any world leaders. They've done a real bang up job so far, haven't they? Pretty disgusting. This morning, Doug had to go in and get a piece of metal out of his eye. He couldn't sleep all night. He had been working on some brake lines on one of the trucks, and some rust came up. And I was listening to Hamish from High Frequency Tribe yesterday, and he was talking about like the most dangerous tool that you have, and people would think like skill saw or chainsaw, or then he hit it on the head. It's your grinder. Yeah, 'cause like or DA, they'll call it a DA or a grinder in body work or metal fab, whatever. But I ground on a whole 1948 Anglia that we used to have before we put it into primer. I prepared the whole body with the grinder. And when you're doing that, you have to be really careful. Well, the chainsaw, too. I mean, none of it's a joke. I've done that, too. But, yeah, grinders could be pretty unreal. And one of these discs on Doug's grinder one time, I wasn't in the shop when it happened, but it let go on the end somehow and flew up into he has a mahogany ceiling in there, which is a pretty hard wood. And like when something's going like 3600 RPMs or whatever, that thing flew off and just stuck up. If that had went through him, that would have been it, you know, probably right there. There's a lot of times that you think, wow, that was a close one, you know. But yeah, grinders. Bench grinders too are scary. But yeah, that's how we used to sharpen our ice skates, with a bench grinder, or or at least we did at our house. You know. Uh, oh yeah. I hear somebody, their motor's running out there. I think Doug's selling the door off of one of our vehicles. So we're trying to get rid of all of them. We've got a friend that's got a dump truck here, and he's going to be taking that up north. His dad's building a road, so they need their dump. He was just storing it here. And then I think we're trading or selling our dump truck because we don't need it. And we sold my little PT Cruiser the other day that it ran, but the gears were going out of it. And so just weeding things out little by little, aside from what he's working on or the cars that we're going to keep, you know. But but trying to weed things out. It's just like in here I've been, when I go and clean an area, if I have something that I haven't used for so long, I mean, a lot of people probably have a garage sale and they probably sell a lot of the stuff I throw away, but it's like, I used to just keep something because I'd think, well, geez, I'm gonna need it. Like, even if it was like a little rubber grommet off of something, I'd put it, and I still kind of will do things like that. And amazingly, um, there seems to always be kind of a use for it. But I'm trying to get out of that type of frame of mind. And if it's like used or if I got it used, unless it's ancient antique or something, then I'm like, get rid of it. It's like I have a lot of music boxes, so I started giving some of them to my granddaughters, and I'm still gonna do that. But coming up here. But yeah, because I don't really play 'em like that. There's a bell up on that shelf. It's a wooden bell that plays a song from The Sound of Music. I think it's A Vida Sanguinite. Do, 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 do. If you know that song. I think it's called A Vita's Saying, or A Farewell and Good Night, I think is the name of the song. But yeah, I've got all kinds of music boxes. And there's a square blue one on the second shelf, and there, right there. And that plays German Christmas folk song. So all kinds of music boxes, little figurine ones, and I've got one is a girl with a horse. The Precious Moment collections. I've got a boy and a girl marriage figurines. That's a music box, and so many ones that look like pianos. I gave away, like, I had a brass swan and other piano ones that I had, and other little wooden ones, and then I have like a ancient three-legged Japanese music box, and I could go on and on. So there's different things, like if I don't use it, I'm either going to give it, if it's precious, to my grandchildren, or I just throw it away. you know. But that's what I've been trying to do, because when you get older, your house gets like a collection, of different stuff. It's like, where did all this come from? When you have no more shelves to put anything on. Yeah. So all in all, it's a pretty good day, but my heart is sad for the people that still believe that taking up arms against another people in the world is the way to go about things, and that one country should be responsible for helping another country. No, it should be the United Nations alone. They have their own army and they can deal with conflicts within the countries that are a part of those United Nations all by themselves, and leave the people in my country alone. These are my fellow citizens. This is our souls, the soul of our country, and I'm sick of us being represented as monsters around the world. No matter whose monster we end up being, I'd rather be monstrous for not taking the life of somebody that's doing harm than to take that life. I'd rather be called a monster or even incompassionate than a murderer. Because really, if you don't feel like that, you're participating in murder. Point blank. Flat out. Period. There's just no way to sugarcoat that. And I'm thoroughly disgusted that I am forced to be a part of something I don't want to be a part of. So I say, land back to the natives here. No, we're not going to go fight your war. You fight your own wars. You want to worry about somebody's land? Then give it back to the natives that are deserving of their own country before you worry about somebody else's country. Because our land is just as sacred to us as somebody else's. And God loves us all equally and every bit of the land that He made for us. And you're just as chosen as anybody else. And you love God just as much as any Israelite or Hamas, whoever, don't you? Or you maybe don't, just like they don't, or say they do, depending on who you are. What I'm saying is all true. It's not some fantasy. It's my innermost self and how I actually have always felt. And I'm not shy to talk about these things. I have people that are soldiers on my Facebook, which, by the way, any of you are more than welcome to come over on Facebook and say hello and friend me, whatever. It's like I was really honored yesterday. Miss Ruby Star Diamond came over on my YouTube to say hi to me from Facebook. Well, that was cool. That made my day. Thank you. That really made my day. I was like, wow, people do care, you know? Yeah, we're all one big family. Does family really kill each other? If you have a naughty kid, are you going to kill it or put it in its room for a while? What sounds more logical to you? What would God do? What would He expect us to do? Well, He would expect us to be saying what I'm saying. That's what He expects out of us. You say no, you don't go along with the crowd. I mean, I'm not lecturing the people that obviously know that. I'm not trying to lecture you or talk down to you, or it's just, if I could reach the minds of men that and women that think that any kind of conflict is going to be solved by another conflict and throwing money after murder, it's a detriment to all of us. We're all involved in it, and I'm sick of being involved in something that be like, if you knew a group of people that were going to go and beat up an old man in his house to take what he had or something, but you didn't physically go and do that harm, but you knew about it. You might even put gas in the car of the people that went and did that. Well, then you're directly responsible. And I'm sick of being responsible for other people's crap. And I had something like that happen. It wasn't that they harmed somebody, but people used my van to commit a robbery. And I found out about it. Like, you son of... I got little kids, and you don't care about that? You know? Imagine me tripping, finding out something like that, and then expecting me to participate and think nothing of it. And then, like, I'm dirt, like I'm the one that did something. That's time, something like that. That's time for divorce. That's when you separate yourself. That's what I'm talking about. It's time for us to divorce our government. It's time for me to separate myself from that, because I am not that. And I'm not going to be misrepresented by somebody or called a part of that when that's not who I am. Aren't you sick of it? Aren't you sick of the rest of the world looking at America like we're monsters? You could have the best heart in the world, but that's not what the rest of the world thinks. They probably want you dead. And that's why. Because we haven't kept our business at home. If it were one world government, we would have no say-so, and that's what they're hoping, that they could do this whenever and wherever they want to without anybody stopping them or saying a word about it. That's horrible, and that's the position that we're getting in right now, you know. Had a nice surprise this morning. My daughter-in-law sent me some pictures of her and my middle granddaughter, then my oldest granddaughter, and then my second to the youngest that was with their dog named Chaos. The dog is Chaos. And I think he is mixed with a pit bull and Chihuahua. He's pure white, and he looks like a little monster. In fact, he fits right in with my grandchildren in that respect, you know. Yeah, he's cute. They are all cute. I really love and admire my daughter-in-law too. Beyond words, this woman has been through some horrendous things all her life. But she hasn't let life make her cold and bitter, and she's about as graceful as you can be handling the things she's had to handle. So it's like, yeah, there's some really good people on this planet, you know. And these are the ones we need to stick up for each other like that, you know. When there's so much chaos and confusion, there's got to be some light of sanity within all the insanity, you know. It's like, when's it ever going to end? When is there ever going to be a day? I mean, I haven't heard it as much with these people, especially like middle-aged women, and sending around like a picture of a dude in a uniform and God bless our troops. Oh, go yourself. I'm so sick of you. God bless everybody. Or God bless America. Oh, yeah. God bless the whole world. Stop your just shit. You say we're all brothers and sisters. God bless our troops. Ho, ho. Yeah, it's my dream to teach my children how to murder and go into the grave for another country. Didn't you give birth to your child or raise your child with every thought that I am feeding this child and taking care with this little human being to teach it how to be a murderer? Was that your first thought? Did you conceive your child out of love and think to yourself, I'm making love just so I can make the ultimate warrior for whatever God I'm serving, you know? Maybe there are some people that think like that. I wasn't one of them. Yeah. But yeah, I get really disgusted at especially the middle-aged and older women. The motherliness and the womanhood is like vacant. It is. They actually think that this person in a uniform gives a shit about them. Are you out of your mind? They're trained murderers. What do you think? That's your, like you're gonna sit on the steps and share a lollipop with this person and they're gonna be content? That's really not their personal makeup at that point. They're way past that. Or the holding hands stage, in a relationship. You just bypassed all that. Yeah, my recommendation, find a dude in a uniform and marry him. You'll be real safe. Speaking from personal experience. No, 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 and no. If anything, that trained murderer that you marry has those instincts and they have to deal with them on a daily basis, and so will you. That's who you are. So you're Mrs. Murderer at that point. I do not honor them like that. I look down on them for it. I almost went in the service 2 different times, but something would happen and it stopped me. It's a good thing because I heard of people that went in as conscientious observers that they weren't going to participate in the war and then they ended up having to, or they get shipped off to somewhere where they were told they weren't going to be going. Like if you had enlisted to stay in the States, but they shipped you off anyway. Once you sign your name, they can do whatever they want. And if you try and leave, they can kill you. That doesn't sound very humane. Gee, I changed my mind. I didn't know I was signing up for murder. Well, it's too bad. You found out now, didn't you? In all reality, soldiers do make a sacrifice to their souls. And that's the part that people need to care about. You actually should not honor that person in that uniform, but see the pity of it all and love them as a human being and try and reach them with the shame of it all. That's what I do. I do. Always have. I made some great friends by being honest too, and letting them know that no, I'm not afraid to fight. I'm just not going to fight somebody else's battles. I'll protect people. I'll make it my battle if it's in personal proximity. And that's why I'm making this so personal about everybody in America. Hey, there was a time in my life I did not know who my family was. So I had to look at everybody's face and think, am I related to this person? If we all thought like that, what would the world be? If you did not know who your relatives were, potentially everybody would be. If you just didn't know, wouldn't that be a trip? I found out at 34, but for 34 years, I lived with the fact that I just did not know. I think that did give me that advantage of compassion after a while. It wasn't an immediate thing. I think that it's a real dangerous mindset for women in my society to overlook the souls of any individual thinking about enlisting in any armed service. If you know somebody personally and you can talk to them from the bottom, the top of your heart, your whole heart, and reach them with the sense of their own soul, you can crack a code right there. You cracked one of Satan's code that he doesn't want you to. It's on an individual basis. If you have a veteran in your family, pull that sorrow out of them, make them face it. In a loving way, you know. You'll be respected for it, even if they get mad. They have no choice. What's in your heart, if it's true, you'll make them face a part of themselves that they've never had to confront before. That's deep in there, and they all know that. Like I said, I made some wonderful friends just by talking about what's on my heart and what's on my mind like that. You know, even willing to battle them within conflicts personally that I would almost create for that reason, you know, to make them take a look at themselves. Because if you can't get people to talk about the woes in their lives, and you don't hear people that have fought in wars and the sorrows that they actually carry, and they can't portray that out on this planet, then other people are going to glorify something that is going to be a detriment to the next generation. So it just keeps going on, and nobody stops it, you know? It's not an honorable thing, it's a horrible thing. But they really do eventually want to even make it where this is in the playbook. This is part of their agenda, that they actually want to make it like there's different cultures like China or whatever, where men and women both are enlisted at a certain age. You do your stint in the military, and it's a military state, and that's all it is. That's what they want to do. And I hope that I can reach people and make you understand this is what they want to implement worldwide. And why would that be? Why on this planet should I have to be concerned that if I have a daughter, my government is going to want to enlist that child as soon as she is capable to kill another human being? That's about the most sickening thing you could ever think of. And what about womanhood? Where does that go? Where has it gone? Do you think there's always been a time that women thought nothing of war? I don't believe that's so. I think that our ancestors, there has to have been heroines, women of strength that stood up and said, we don't want to do this. Where are my ladies out here feeling like I am? Aren't you? For your offsprings, you have to speak up. That's that mama bear thing, you know? That's not the bears in the that ate the children in the scriptures. No, I'm talking about the mama bear feeling that if you get close to my cub, I'm going to eat you. That type of feeling. Well, this is what's happening to our cubs. They're getting close, they're in their brains. Even with video games. I did a couple videos on the army had a game out where they were recruiting youngsters through their military game, um, just recruiting them through the effing game. You know, I did that video probably about 5 years ago, a couple of them on it. It's pretty repulsive. You know, it's not like you're playing Battleship or something, or, you know, Monopoly. This is like, um, in Susan instills feelings within little people that there's something heroic and honorable about something that is so detrimental. It takes humanity, it takes the human out of humanity. They're serving Satan. There's just no other way about it. It's exactly what it is. They're paying homage, and the sacrifices made are with the people's souls that are not the innocent ones that God is taking care of. If you believe that eternity is eternity and God takes your soul and you're with Him, then you believe that. Or you believe that you have to physically take up arms and teach your children how to murder, and that this physical plane of existence is all we have, and that is our nature, and that's the way things are meant to be. I don't believe that. I think the anger that I get inside myself is the most unnatural thing in the world. The upset. I try to keep myself on an even keel and keep away from that. And I've learned a lot of patience through my life from The idiots that have surrounded me with all their stuff, all their stuff, all this stuff. And I think to myself, these people are adults just like me, with the same potential in their heart, just like I have, every single one of us. And we're all connected. I almost broke out in the song, Feelings, whoa, 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 feelings, if you know that song. I almost did. Anyway, where are people's feelings? They'll keep making excuses. If they make excuses for war, they're not of God. Simple. That's why I say beware of these religious leaders and different leaders. That's what I was going to say about that Michael Johnson being a part of our Congress now, the Speaker of the House. If something happens to Biden, then it goes to Camilla. Something happens to Camilla. This person that says he's an evangelist for Christ is supporting that star they call David's, and that is not a Christian. That is not what a Christian feels like. So what is that? Is he going to be the antichrist? Maybe. You know, the antichrist does come first. There's going to be somebody in the public eye that is going to be looked upon as somebody that's going to bring all religions together. In the meantime, people that are God loving, and you might not even have a church, and you might consider yourself a Christian with, or know that the Christ Spirit or Holy Spirit works through you. You know for a fact you might not even have a church. I think we're the people that truly have God in our hearts. We're not just proclaiming that. That's the way we live. That's who we are. That's what I believe. I There's a lot of people, I'm sure, that are really upset and afraid. And you know, when I was younger, I used to deliver newspapers, and I would see the um, headlines, and reminds me of that Don McLean song, Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Bad news on the doorstep, I couldn't take one more step. You know, constant. If it wasn't one altercation, it was another one. If it's not the Ukraine, then it's somewhere else. If it's not Afghanistan, it was Vietnam. If it's not this, it's not that. It's not ever ending because they make money off it. And people are disposable. We're expendable to them. Just as long as you feel patriotic, just as long as you feel that some place is holy and some people are chosen above you, you are going to be led into hell. You are going to be lowered, demoted as a human being with those feelings and that empathy, sympathy for the devil. And no excuses in the world is going to paint that away. They say the devil is in the details. I think I detailed that really good for everybody. I pretty much painted why I am pushing for the Native Americans to have their land back. Before you go fight for somebody else's land, you give the indigenous people of my country their land back. Wouldn't that be a cool thing? I think it would be. I think it would be awesome to see the chief, if they, within the nations, the indigenous natives, electing a chief. I mean, they do it all the time. And there's been some great chiefs that led their people not in war, but in life and in ways. And a lot of what people hear, which is a sad thing, even if you'll see like a clip of a powwow or something, a lot of what people hear is more of a warring music. You don't hear the sound and the songs of the beauty. You just hear it's like a residue of a people that were, it's their sorrows and their misguided in that respect, anger, not misrepresented, but misguided with their souls and that anger, because nothing has ever been rectified for them. Nobody fights for them. Before we fight somewhere else, we should be concerned about the people in our own country. And I'm telling you that the Native American culture would do that here. Get rid of DC. How about South Dakota being the head of the United States, the Lakota people, a chief in Lakota. So very strong, very intelligent, a lot of master degreed psychologists, doctors, lawyers, whoever, everybody from all walks of life. Let the Native Americans run their own land. It's about time. Before we go somewhere else, take care of the broken treaties right here. Because we've learned how to live along with each other. Why should we fight somewhere else for somebody else that says they're chosen when you're just as chosen? They were chosen to get the scriptures and the laws, the books, the Torah that Moses gave them with the laws, thou shalt not kill. They don't abide by that. There's a lot of those laws that they do not abide by. They sure hope you do. But you don't know that you're the lost tribes. They're claiming they are. They're not lost. They invaded where they are. The other people had to run from Babylon. They were being pursued by the same Canaanite blood, the same two tribes that Abraham was told to cut out of his family tree. And we were instructed to leave those people alone. Let them fight their own battles. They started this war, let them finish it. If they can't coexist with people in their country, que sera, sera, baby, that's your problem. You want to worry about somebody else's genocide? Why don't you worry about the thousands of Native Americans that were slaughtered just right up into the 1800s, about 130 miles from my house? Men and women were stripped naked and hung in the public eye. It's called Wounded Knee. They look just like me. They're hanging there, naked, for all the people without pigment in their skin to walk by and see. And the children were slaughtered or taken and put into religious schools and taught different languages and different religions, which most Native Americans I know believe in the Christ spirit. They call different names, but the Great Spirit is still God. He's our Father. There's no debate on that. I feel like one of my best friends, Dana Wong, I feel like the Chinese people are just as chosen as you or I or an Israelite. And why wouldn't we be? Because somebody else has a book. And in that book, people don't understand the scriptures and they're able to misconstrue that and make you believe something that is not true, that you are not created equal. And that's just not so. It's like that meme that goes around. God thought you were so special that he had to make one of you, not a duplicate, not a part of an army, but a special, precious you. You're not to be a soldier. You're not to be used. You're not to be called less than a dog. You're precious. Every single one of us is just as chosen. It's like when you're a mom. You can't pick between your kids. If you do, you got some real major. This is a part of you. It's your precious little somebody. How could you ever? But we're expected to on somebody else's say so. No, I'm not going to do that. No, I love my brothers and sisters everywhere. If you people want to fight, you fight. If you can't handle the fight, call in the United Nations. Don't expect other human beings to lose a part of their soul or their family, their husband, their child, whoever, because you cannot handle the fights that you started. It's the end of that right there. And that's how I stand on that. So, well, I'm going to let it go at that. I hope you will help me spread this word and we can really make this thing work. Just standing on what I have just explained and why. And with God in all of our hearts, may God be with us. Because somebody's got to put their foot down and say, no, we are not doing this. Because you say you're chosen. Yes, you are chosen to stay the hell out of other people's souls. You don't have that right. Nobody does. In fact, even like them stupid women honoring some soldier in a uniform. You are whacked. And you really need to have God put your head on straight for you so you can get a grasp of helping the next generations. And it surely isn't a game. Like I said, they need help, then they need to call in the United Nations. End of story. Leave individual countries out of it. And leave the money that goes towards these out of it too. It's time for the world to clean up its act. Who's going to help me do that? Let's do that. Let's just say no. No. No to WAR. No and no again, okay? All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I will talk to you tomorrow. Appreciate you hanging out with me. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. Have a good night or day, wherever you're at. Don't forget, everybody's precious. We're all chosen.